Hi everyone and welcome back. We're going to talk about a new method for graphing lines called the intercept method, but before we do that we have to introduce two new concepts. But they should be very familiar to you all. This is called the x and the y intercept. So notice that this graph here of this line intersects the x and y axes. And this is what are known as the x and y intercepts. So this one here would be the y-intercept. And this point will always look like 0, y. So the x-coordinate will always be 0, and then you'll have some value in there from y that may or may not be 0. For lines, you only have 0 or 1 y-intercept. And then x-intercept is very similar. So you have the x-intercept. This time the y-coordinate is 0, and then you may have any value for x. And then for lines, there are 1 or 0 of these. And one thing I do want to note is that most lines have both a y and an x-intercept. There's only very few special lines that only have one or the other. And we'll talk about those in another chapter. So what I want to talk about now is how to find intercepts. And that's what this part is about. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. And so if we want to find the y-intercept, we are going to set x to y, or x equal to 0. And notice that we use the opposite variable. To set equal to 0. This used to be something that used to confuse me all the time, and that's the way I learned how to remember it. And so when we try to find the x-intercept, so let's choose a different color. Let's do orange. So if we try to find the x-intercept, notice that we set y equal to 0. So again, opposite variable is equal to 0. And then we solve for the remaining variable, and that's what goes in for the respective coordinate that we're missing. And then 0 goes into the variable we set equal to 0. One thing to note, I'll write it over here, and I will write this nice and big, screaming at you, is that intercepts are points. Not numbers. So many times when people are asked to find an intercept, they solve for the other variable. So for example, they set, if we're trying to find a y-intercept, they'll set x equal to 0, and they solve for y equals something. And they say that, well, y equals something is the intercept. No. This is the intercept, if it's the y-intercept, or this is the intercept, if it's the x-intercept. So when you give me an intercept, give me a point. I will mark off if you don't give me a point. So, alright, now I'm done harping about that. Let's go to our procedure for graphing by the intercept method. So the first part, of course, is find the intercepts. And then you graph the intercepts. And then you graph the intercepts. And then you connect the lines to the point. So notice that you only need 2 points for this procedure, but it is always a good idea to find a third point and make sure it's on the line. There we go. Because if it's not on the line, you have made a calculation error. So let's try this out with an example. 3x plus y equals 6. So our solution looks like this. We have 3 times 0. Oh, sorry, Mrs. Sepp. I should have told you that I'm going to set x equal to 0. So we have 3 times 0 plus y equal to 6. So we'll get y is equal to 6. And so our y-intercept is 0, 6. So we'll save that for future reference. And then we set y equal to 0, and this gives us 3x plus 0 equal to 6. The 3x plus 0 just becomes 3x. Then we divide both sides by 3, and we get that x equals 2. And so the x-intercept, I have to catch myself because I tend to want to say the wrong variable here, is 2, 0. Alright, so now that we found our two intercepts, now we need to graph it. So those are the only 2 points we're going to graph. So let's draw a big xy plane. So this is x, this is y, and we're going to let each square be a 1 by 1, and we're going to graph the point 2, 0 and the point 0, 6. So here's 3, 4, 5, and 6. So 0, 6. And all we want to do is connect them with the line. I did it again. And then all we're going to do is connect them with the line. So there we go. And there's our line. So that's all there is to graphing using this method. So we'll move on to the next section, which will be about slopes. See you then.